What's up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to my channel. Got a super quick and simple video for you this week. I want to talk about motivation, and more specifically, I want to talk about not like getting ourselves motivated, because I feel like the most powerful understanding there you probably already know about, which is why. Giving yourself a really clear and compelling why. Why do you do what you do? Why do you want to do what you do? Because a big reason makes for big motivation, and you can learn more about that in the TED Talk from Simon, whatever. I'll put the link in the description. It's an incredible video if you haven't seen it yet, or if you've watched it but you haven't watched it anytime recently, go check it out again, because if you're feeling in that dark place, which is who this video is made for, that is a great video to watch. But I want to give you a fresh insight in this video, hopefully something you haven't heard of before. When I kind of I stumbled across it, and I wrote about it, and that's how you find these new ideas sometimes. It stood out. It stood out as like I'd never come across anything like it watching videos on YouTube, for example, or reading in books or anything. And so that's why I want to share it with you. It's something that I was surprised to hear from myself. It's so utterly simple, and I don't hear it talked about, and so that's why I want to share it with you. So, but first of all, to give you some context, before this, I feel like can speak to you, or at least before it could speak to me, it was prefaced with the state of mind that I was in before I came across it, and that was dark. Like, this is a place where I was not motivated. I was asking these very dark questions. I'll just read you the entry. This is a pretty dark entry. I don't want you to worry about me. Promise you I'm not suicidal or anywhere close to, but even, regardless of the fact that I never, or you, hopefully, are never on the brink of like true, suicidal thoughts and all that stuff, you can still, I think, come to these very dark places, maybe just because those are seasons of life, maybe because I'm not managing my emotions and like rituals and so forth as I should, which I'm doing my best to do now. But regardless, this is the entry that I wrote. I say, I don't believe I'm depressed. This is 10:30 in the morning on Tuesday, a couple Tuesdays ago. I don't believe I'm depressed, but I am experiencing a lot of the signs. I've been lethargic, self-isolating, unmotivated to change my emotional state this morning, or even to get out of bed for that matter. I wanted to try changing my emotional state as another strategy to get myself out of this slump. And my thoughts have been colored with those dark questions. What's the point? Why not read and eat and watch movies all day? Why engage with the outside world at all? Like, wow, it's some pretty heavy stuff. So shake that off. That's that's where I was. It's where I have been, and I'm not confident that I'll never go back to that place again. But regardless, like, having been in that place, or if you are in that place, or you've been in that place before, this is what I took away after doing like the right thing anyway, taking the action anyway. And how I did that exactly, I'll try to sprinkle in as I tell you the story. So that was about 10:30 that morning, and at noon I have a team meeting on Tuesdays, and that was a Tuesday morning. So at noon I went to the team meeting. Again, probably wasn't feeling tremendously motivated, but I was able to muster out the motivation to do that, because I've never missed a meeting so far, and I don't plan to, because like I love the job, I love the people I work with, and probably like the social aspect made it a little easier, like the accountability and stuff like that. But anyway, I made it to the meeting regardless, whatever it was, despite feeling kind of drab. I definitely didn't plan to knock. I didn't even dress for the part. I didn't like wear my iron shirt or anything. I just kind of showed up and was like, I slouched as I like to do. And you just kind of are in that place, right? But I went to the meeting anyway, and then after the meeting, as of course everybody kind of had their plans to go knocking, with this job, like, nobody pressures you to go knock. Nobody tells you have to go knock, and I really like that. And so I can't say, and I don't want to say that it was an obligation type feeling that got me on the doors, because again, I wasn't planning to, but it was sort of along that, it was near obligation. It wasn't obligation. It wasn't like I went to the meeting and then I felt like, okay, now I have to go knock, right? But because if I did tell myself that, then I would just have all the more resistance, because I don't want to be told I have to do something. I'm very like stubborn in that way. But what it was it was kind of like okay, it's the right thing to do. It's what I know I should be doing. And at least in this case, for whatever reason, other than that, I was able to then go ahead and do it anyway. But it wasn't in the typical Xander way. It wasn't like what usually happens, which is I've been cooking for like maybe 2 weeks in a row and I fall off the wagon. And then in order to get back, I'm like, okay, back to the stuff, back to the drawing board, right? I plan what kind of groceries am I going to buy, and what's my plan for what I'm going to cook, and that's of course going to determine the groceries I'm going to buy. What do I have already? There's tons of other things that your mind can make it more complicated than it really is. In this case, I didn't do any of that. I almost said I didn't let myself do any of that. It wasn't. That's not how it was. That's not like what it was like. It was just like I didn't do any of that. It wasn't called for it, and I didn't have the inclination. I just was like, okay. I came back after the meeting for lunch, and as soon as I got done with lunch, I put on my Ion stuff and went out and just did it. And then I wrote down here at 7 p.m. after knocking for like a few hours, maybe 2 or 3 hours. I went out and knocked today after the meeting and landed 2 RFPs in like 2 hours without even trying! Exclamation point. 2 RFPs is like, doesn't matter what that is. In 2 hours, it's good. That's all you need to know. I just kind of did it and I didn't think about shit. And I say, this is where I've been leading up to in this whole video. I say, and you know what? As far as why goes, there's a lot to be said for literally just knowing that I'm earning money. The feeling knowing I'm being productive and not just being a bum. That's worth something. Like the integrity of work, that's worth something. And I say, I would like to go deeper than this, referencing perhaps the whole why, but but it's worth noting. So basically, the reason I wanted to make this video, guys, is because as simple as that is, I'd never heard anything like that from myself or anyone else before. The dignity of work itself, just like, an example outside of door to door. Let's say you want to read more books, and more specifically, you want to read novels before bed as an alternative to like playing on your phone maybe before bed or doing whatever else it is you do before bed. What I've done in that case, there's other pieces of, things that I've read playing into this as well. But what I've done is I have, first of all, I don't use my phone. I don't have my phone or any other devices next to my bed, and I don't allow them there before bed. I have instead one book that I've chosen that makes it really easy to decide whether or not to read. It's not what to read, because I don't have to make two decisions. It's not whether to read and what to read. It's just whether to read or not. I don't have any rules for how much I have to read every night, or if I have to read like a certain amount of time or certain days or anything like that. I don't have any quotas like that. I just have it like very easy, very convenient location where I want to be reading it. And that's my option. I either read or I go to sleep. That's it. Or I get up and like leave the room and get water or whatever. But that's one thing. And then the other thing, playing into this whole dignity of work thing, is I let myself appreciate applying this dignity of work principle for getting ourselves to take action. I allow myself to appreciate what it feels like to read rather than not read. It's as simple as that. And I know that's unbelievably simple, but I'm hoping that, the meaning comes across here. It feels better to do the right thing than it does to do the wrong thing. And I feel like as much as we might crave sometimes laziness or comfort, if you let yourself feel what it feels like, that dignity of work, going for the run, putting on your shoes and just moving, and allowing yourself to not like worry so much about all of the like quotas that you want to set for yourself and having all these crazy ambitions, it makes it really easy to just feel good about the fact that you're moving forward. And it's not so much the progress itself. You don't have to see immediate progress, but the fact that you know that you are moving in that direction by just picking up the book and reading a little bit, or in my case, putting on, my right clothes and just going and starting to knock and not even caring whether or not I had success. And yet, ironically, I had tremendous success. Probably a sign and a gift from God. But anyway, that's that's the video this week, guys. I know it wasn't very well structured. I hope that it speaks to you, though. I couldn't really think of a way to make it glamorous and sexy and like, hey, this is something you never heard before. Maybe I'll get better with that as I move forward with this whole channel and everything. But for now, That's what I got. So hope you guys enjoyed it. I'll see you next week.